we join one man on his own very personal journey from war to peace.
British troops have served all over the world. Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Falkland Islands. The mental trauma of war can take years to manifest itself. More veterans of the Falklands conflict have committed suicide since 1982 than were originally killed in action. This is the story of one ex-para and his personal war.
There's perhaps some unfinished business that I have that I haven't really completely dealt with my experiences in the Falklands. And that's, I think there's some place that I need to go and visit and to really try and draw a line underneath this.
As well as his memories, he returned with a war trophy, an Argentinian trumpet, which he hopes will be the key to laying his past to rest. Tony Banks is a successful businessman. For the last 20 years, he has built his care home business into an empire worth £60 million. But back in the early 1980s, Tony was a carefree teenager growing up in Dundee, who had decided to take an unexpected career path.
When I was 18, I was doing my degree in accountancy, and I decided to join I saw this advert for parachuting. And I thought, I'll go and do that, because it was an advert for parachuting and you can earn some money. I never realised it was for the TA paras. So I ended up joining the TA paras. And after about 6 months, I realised that I enjoyed the TA more than I enjoyed the BA. And I went and decided to join the regular army.
Tony joined the elite 2nd Battalion Royal Parachute Regiment. A few months after this picture was taken, this regiment was being assembled for war.
I remember going through King's Cross Station at Easter time. I was going on leave, and I saw this notice board saying, blackboard with 3 para return to barracks. I thought, well, why they return to barracks and we're not? Then by the time I got home, I realised the Falklands had started, and then I received a telegram. And a telegram basically has one code word on it, which was the name of the barracks we lived in at the time, which was Bruneval. And basically all that meant when you received this telegram was get back to barracks ASAP.
On the 2nd of April 1982, Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands, a remote UK colony in the South Atlantic.
We are here because for the first time for many years, British sovereign territory has been invaded by a foreign power. The government has now decided that a large task force will sail as soon as all preparations are complete. HMS Invincible will be in the lead and will leave port on Monday.
I didn't have a clue where the Falkland Islands are. I mean, I think like most people, I thought, why would Argentina want to invade someplace off the north coast of Scotland? You know, thinking Shetlands or Orkneys or, nobody had, I didn't have a clue. I mean, quite naive. And then to find out it was 8,000 miles away gave us a bit of a shock.
It wasn't just Tony who had no idea where the Falkland Islands were. Many had never heard of these tiny islands in the South Atlantic. But the high profile of the conflict was changing that perception.
Just think of the distances. Great Britain up in the north of the globe, the Falklands down in the south of the globe. To get them down there, a number of ships were used. They had to take ships from civilian use, the liner Canberra, but 2 para went down on the ferry Norland. A good ship used for North Sea ferrying in normal life, but it was cramped, and more importantly, the men on board, as they travelled south, had to keep themselves fit. This put a huge amount of pressure on the battalion because they knew that they were going into a war zone and they had to prepare themselves for it in the very, very narrow confines of a merchant ship.
The atmosphere in the ship was professional, but still a bit jovial. Everybody thinking, oh, we'll get called back, this is never going to happen.
HMS Sheffield, a Type 42 destroyer, was attacked and hit late this afternoon by an Argentine missile.
When that happened, the whole attitude changed, and we knew that there was no going back at that stage, and this was going to be for real.
The reinforcement was on its way, battling the wintry rough seas of the South Atlantic.
That was quite a frightening time, because you start to think, well, I could actually be killed here. And even while we were sailing down, there was always the possibility Argentinian submarines could attack the ship. I mean, I always remember when we had anything like a threat to the ship, we had to go and lie in our beds with our helmets on and our life jackets. And I used to think to myself, what bloody good's that going to do? Somebody torpedoes a ship lying on your bed. I mean, it's so stupid.
After 3 weeks at sea, the troops finally arrived at San Carlos Bay, ready for action.
First of all, you have to get your guys ashore. That's an amphibious operation. Having chosen San Carlos as the area most suited to it, Brigadier Julian Thompson, the overall commanding officer, had to make sure that his men got ashore safely. No easy matter when you're coming under airstrikes.
The troops made their way up Sussex Mountain, but were pinned down by heavy air attack. All they could do was watch the war unfold in front of them.
But it was a frightening experience when these aircraft came in. And I remember sitting there and seeing the bombs going off on the ships. I remember one in particular, it was during the night, I think it was called the Antelope, that just went off in the middle of the night. I mean, absolutely petrified, because you didn't expect anything in the middle of the night. And you just sit there thinking, gosh, those guys at the ship, they're sitting ducks. We felt lucky because we were on land.
Two para lined up at the start line. As they moved forward, they quickly made first contact with the enemy, and this meant that isolated pockets were quickly in firefights with Argentine forces. And here I should emphasize that this initial phase of the attack was taking place in darkness.
And all through that night and all through that battle, I just remember thinking, just God, just get me through this, just get me through this, because I'd seen comrades falling at that stage. That's the first time I'd seen anybody close to us over the time we'd been on the Falklands actually getting killed. People react differently, some more than others, are more frightened than others, and you can't get them to do what they should be doing because they're petrified. And then taking Argentinian positions and trying not to feel sorry for them, because, you know, any human being, when you see somebody that's been shot or is in a state of distress, you can't help but feel for them, but you could not allow yourself to feel like that. You had to just think, you know, it's kill or be killed here.
The British troops were heavily outnumbered, but despite the odds, they captured Goose Green. The 900 remaining Argentinians surrendered. Success, however, came at a high price. It cost the lives of 18 British soldiers.
Captain Wood, Captain James, Lieutenant Barry, Corporal Hardman, Corporal Sullivan, Corporal Fryer.
A good friend of mine that I used to share a room with back in Aldershot, Dave Parr. I mean, Dave, he got shot at Goose Green. The bullet went to his belly button, to the webbing buckle. Severe bruising. And once he got Kazibat, he should never have come back. But because the character he was, he felt better, and he hitched a lift on a helicopter that was going back to Tupara. When we fought for Wireless Ridge, our own artillery dropped 5 shells on us, and he was killed. And I just felt devastated.